15 years or so around Women's Alley. So I mean, I kind of started out really as a poet and an English literature student, and I sort of walked backwards into, well, a bunch of different things. We're looking at the history of the Black community in the city, and history of urban planning, and all of these things I wasn't really trained to do. Just by trying to answer the question, how did. Well, my first question was what writing did Blacks in British Columbia produce? What writing did they produce over years? And so for my master's thesis, I edited a collection of writing by Blacks in BC going back to the 1840s. Just the nature of the history was such that there was a lot of writing from the 19th century, from the gold rush era. A lot of those Black folks were writing nonfiction and stuff, documenting what was going on in journalism. And then in sort of after multiculturalism, about the late 80s and forward, Black writers in BC were starting to get published and producing a lot of work. And it was the middle period where I could find hardly anything written by Black folks in BC. And that's the period of Hogan's Alley. And so I ended up filling that space by including transcripts of interviews with some of the Black folks who were still there in the 70s, that Daphne Marlett and Carol David did in the book called New Wars. And that's where I first, it's funny because my dad came to Vancouver in the 1850s, and my mom and dad have stories of hanging around down in what was Hogan's Alley, but by that time they didn't really refer to it as Hogan's Alley, it was called Main Street. And they talked about all these different nightclubs, and they knew some of the old families that were from down there. I never really used that term, and I sort of knew that there was a Black community there, but I never really visualized it as a community because we never really spent a lot of time down there. We grew up in other parts of East Vancouver. So in doing the research, just sort of little bits and pieces were falling into place of sort of the video that Cornelia Weingarten and Andrew Katona did, Hogan's Alley, just talking head interviews with some of the elders from the community, those interviews that I found, and then just sort of word of mouth and talking to people and realizing that there was a community there. And so then my question was, well, originally somebody who read my anthology said, it's funny, you walk around down there and there's no sign that there'd ever be a Black community here. Nobody believes you can tell them that there was this community. Even though by then I looked at some of the newspaper articles and some of the